So I guess now the question is it Gungi or Gungi? Oh my god. How's everyone doing today, folks? My name's T Codes, and it's another episode of the Bad Batch here, and yeah, no, this was one that I was looking forward to, and that was the episode where we got our current, if I remember correctly, our only Wookiee Jedi that we've seen, at least in terms of the Clone Wars or the animated universe for Star Wars. And that's, our favorite, Gungi, or Gungi, again. It's just, there's so many. I hear people say both ways, and honestly, I go Gungi, but I could be totally wrong at the same time, but I don't know. That's just how I stuck with it when I was watching Clone Wars. I just remember him, he was just so much fun in Clone Wars, and I'm so glad that we get to see him again. Although, it's interesting how this episode plays out with it. So, this is episode 6 of season 2, or episode 22 of the series, Tribe. So, this is a part of me was hoping when I saw the trailer for this, we see Gungi with, he's there, he's got his lightsaber, he's battling, he draws it. A part of me was hoping we get more than one episode with them, but this is the only episode we get with them, and a part of me feels bad because okay, let's go to the episode. So it starts with the Bad Batch. They go to this kind of like black market kind of ship where they're selling these forged chain codes to this droid kind of syndicate. And basically when they're there, Omega runs into a couple droids trying to kind of wrangle in Gungi. And because, as we see in the Rebels series, even in Solo, Wookiees are kind of taken into slavery, and so just seeing Gungi almost be taken into slavery is just that's already a tough sight to see. But the fact that also because we know about Order 66, we can only imagine what he already has been through. So for him to be at this point is just, man. But luckily Omega is able to help him, or at least distract the droids long enough so Gungi can fight them off, and eventually he has to go with the Bad Batch, even though he doesn't he's not a fan of the clones at first, and I like that, because again, clones turn against the Jedi, so what clone would really be what Jedi would be really for working with a clone? But unfortunately for Gungi, he has to go with them, because he really doesn't have any other choice because the droids start attacking. He draws his lightsaber, and he just is doing his best to kind of fend them off, and then eventually he goes with the Bad Batch, and he lets them know what his plan is, and it kind of makes sense, and that plan being, considering he's from Kashyyyk, he's a Wookiee, he might figure, why not just go home, be with his people. But at the same time, it's a very interesting decision because, as Jedi usually are, they're taken when they're really young. But basically when they're babies, toddlers. So for Gungi to want to go back to Kashyyyk, a home, his technical birth, his home, the place where he was born. Yeah, he doesn't really know anything about it. It's just an interesting dilemma. But he doesn't really have many other options other than hide out. So him deciding to go back to his people and just be with them probably is the best option. And for the Bad Batch here, just them wanting to help makes sense. Especially, I imagine, Hunter, because, after everything that happened with Kanan in the first episode, just wanting to do what he can, and that's what they do. They go back to Kashyyyk, which I love Wrecker just being like, oh yes, we haven't been to Kashyyyk in a while, and I'm like, of course he would enjoy going back to Kashyyyk, because I can just imagine him and the Wookiees get along so well, and he does. There's a scene where they're in one of the in a camp, and the Wookiees, and him and one of the Wookiees are just drinking from this bowl, and they're just basically taking it like a giant, like it's a shot glass or something, and it's a fun little moment, and I like that. But no, the majority of this episode is just them getting Gungi to his people, and they seeing what Kashyyyk is like during this time of the Empire, and just trying to help him stay alive and just find him a home. But a part of me was hoping it would be more than one episode. That was my main issue with it. The fact that, the episode ends and everything's pretty much resolved. I'm like, oh man. Because, again, a part of me, last season with Bad Batch, we had a few of those multi-episode arcs. I mean, Clone Wars has multi-episode arcs. Rebels had a few multi-episode arcs. So a part of me was just hoping we get maybe a two-parter with this. It would have been nice to spend a little time. Because this isn't like... I mean, when Kanan shows up in the first episode of Bad Batch, if you've seen Rebels, you know where it goes from there. But if you don't see Rebels, it still feels like, oh man, this is crazy. But here with Gungi, I feel like maybe, I guess if for people who Bad Batches, this is like their introduction to the animated Star Wars universe. I guess for them, they would be like a nice one-off. But again, this is a Jedi, this isn't like you find another soldier who's lost or like a refugee, I feel like with how the Jedi are in this time, in this period, I feel like having a multi-episode arc with one would have been really interesting because, there literally is a part in this episode where a few of the Imperial troopers are like, a Jedi? It's like, we got to inform, it's like, oh man, we gotta take care of this. So it's like, a part of me, I was wondering, like, with the Jedi, I'm like, could an Inquisitor possibly come into play here? Or are we still too early for an Inquisitor? Or, like, it would be insane if the Inquisitors already came. Like, imagine if we ran into, like, I don't know, like the Grand Inquisitor or the Second Sister or one of the Ninth Sister would be interesting to see in this show, especially after the episode Faster. That would be crazy. But yeah, no, I guess that's just my main gripe with the episode was that it was just another one-off with such a bigger story plot. Is protecting a Jedi from this. But again, it's still fun for the most part. Like, when they get to Kashyyyk and they're trying to get him back to a tribe, we get to learn a little more about the Kashyyyk, about the culture, like there's a moment where they're the Wookiees, they're leaning up against a tree, they're kind of praying to the tree because to them the trees are are the real rulers of Kashyyyk. Which, in my opinion, makes sense because, like, it's just a vast forest all over Kashyyyk. And unfortunately for them, the Empire is there and they're just burning a lot of it to the ground, just trying to mine it for resources. And to top it all off, the main group that's leading this is Trandoshans, which, of course, Trandoshans and Wookiees do not get along in the slightest. Honestly, actually, who really gets along with a Trandoshan outside of other Trandoshans in the Star Wars universe? So, this really gets under Gungi's skin. He's literally, he's watching as this his home, per se, is being burned down, and so he kind of, him and the Bad Batch, they team up take down the Trandoshans. There's a fun little fight. There's a couple of battles here, like because they have the Trandoshans, they have, Imperial weapons. They have a few even, like, they have a Separatist tank, which was also cool to see again. And it's just nice and fun. I think, although my favorite part was with him and Gungi and Omega. I love the two of them working together because they kind of are, they're nearly the same age. And they kind of look like a cool duo. And, that's another thing about this episode I was wondering about, because this has been questioned since the very first episode with Omega, and that's being, like, what exactly is her, like, desired mutation? Like, does she have any, like, force sensitivity? You know, is that like why she's such a secret, or does she have like, or is she, you know, it's like what's like what? So part of me was hoping this episode would help show us like maybe she is a bit force sensitive, because technically speaking, this is the first time she would maybe see a Jedi, unless maybe she had an interaction with Shakti before, you know, between Clone Wars and Bad Batch, you know, and it was just off screen, or maybe another Jedi, like who knows, but we don't really get that, and so I was just a little bit disappointed that we didn't get that. But at the same time, I wasn't mad entirely, because again, we still got something here with Gungi battling separatists, battling Trandoshans, some of the Empire. But I feel like this episode gets cut short. So after they find a Wookiee tribe, and they, you know, they take them in, you know, seems everything's good, but then, you know, the Trandoshans say that there's a Jedi, and it's like, oh boy. So I feel like this could have easily, it could have been a two-parter. I feel like this could have really worked as a two-parter, where this first part ends with them saying, like, there's a Jedi here, we gotta take care of it. You can end the episode here. The next episode is, you know, more Trandoshans and Imperials are coming. They gotta fend them off. You can spend more time working on a battle strategy, fighting them off, and eventually just being like, okay, we're good. He's safe. You can go. And it's like, that could have been really cool. But no, here it's just like they cut right to it. You know, it's like the second battle commences. You know, they fight them off. The Wookiees are doing their part to just absolutely kick butt. They're riding a bunch, like there's this one, they ride this this kind of like this, it looks like a giant cat from, oh man, I've seen it before, I forget. Oh, it looks like it's like if you take the lion Bengal or thing that took Ahsoka in the Tales of the Jedi episode, you make it bigger, give it like these, I don't know, like these chinchilla kind of ears, and then just like, or not chinchilla ears, or just like basically kind of like a mouse ears a little bit, and just like give it like, it just, that's what it looks like. It looks so freaking cool. I've also got some of these like little weird looking spider things that, you know, kind of looks like a spider, but it has like a neck like this, like it kind of looks like this, like a spider with that. And from what I heard, that's from the Knights of the Old Republic game, which that's a nice little Easter egg to throw in there. And, you know, they play a part in the battle too, like at the end, you know, the Gungi's battling like the main Trandoshan who has a flamethrower, and at first, you know, it thinks like it's gonna be a one-on-one, but then Gungi just steps back and just lets the spiders deal with it, because as the Wookiees said before the battle, that the trees had a plan to help them fight, which is, again, nice little way to have the nature deal with the Imperial forces here. And yeah, so, but I mean, it was nice, it was fun, but I guess it's just, I think because this was in the trailer, like you see Gungi in the trailer, you're thinking like, oh man, this is gonna be big, who knows what the heck we can get. Like, if that wasn't in the trailer and this just pops up in the episode and you're like, oh wait, is that him? Like, that would have been so cool. And maybe I would have given a little bit more of a pass, being like, okay, one episode with him, that's fine. But because it was in the trailer, part of me was hoping there'd be more to it. So maybe that's it. Maybe if like it wasn't in the trailer, this would have been alright, but because it was, it kind of gives you a little bit more of like, ooh, suspicion, like, ooh, if they're doing this, like, could that mean something else could happen? But nope. So, yeah. But I could be completely wrong. Maybe next week we'll stay here and something will go wrong, but yeah. Alright. But, no, I thought it was fun. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a fine episode. I think it's just because I saw the trailer for this, and I was hoping there would be a little bit more to it, but there wasn't. But there still was something. It's like, at least we got a little bit more. At least we see him get to his people. We don't know how he survived Order 66. We don't know that part. But, yeah, so. It's a middle ground episode for me, in my opinion, so let's leave it at that.